it was definitely not cool to be African, one, Ghanaian, non-existent. 1999 in Ghana, the airport wasn't the airport today. The roads were definitely not the roads that we have today. The first thing you do is come to Ghana with no money.
I try and make money.
If you come to Ghana with money, you lose your money.
Right.
I think the most important thing that I've done is learn the culture, not the business.
Oh, learn the culture, not the business. He left the UK to come to Ghana to set up Jacob West in 2012, one of the largest development and construction companies in Ghana. And I'm sitting down today with the CEO, Mr. Michael Kyei-Ayensu, and we are going to be unpacking the story behind Jacob West. I'm really excited about today's conversation. And guys, I'm sure you're going to want to listen to this. And if you are new to this channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit on the notification bell, right? Because you don't want to miss out on future conversations like this. And also give this video a thumbs up. Also, drop a question in the comments. If you want to find out about how he did it and everything in between, make sure you drop something in the comment as well. So, if you like me and you're ready to go, let's get right into it. Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Lorraine here, and I'm excited because today we are sitting down with one of the CEOs or one of the most notable and reputable developers here in Ghana. Now, there is a slogan. Before we even find out who he is, there is a slogan that this company has. The new Africa already exists. I want to know, Mr. Michael, welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. You're so welcome.
You invited us into your office today as well. You're humble. I mean, I'll say humble, but it's not that humble. But yeah, it is. It's a beautiful space, which is actually I think we'll get into the inspiration behind, your developments and your finishes, because we can see that through your office.
Great. That was intentional.
Okay, we see it. The new Africa already exists. Tell me, why is this the motto and the mission behind Jacob West?
Thank you for the introduction. I'm humbled by your presentation there. The new Africa already exists. It's, we grew up in the UK. Well, I grew up in the UK. And the idea of Africa was very negative. And I think our job is to promote what's positive about Africa.
Okay.
And I believe that Africa has already got what the world needs to see.
Africa already has what the world needs to see. And I think you probably saw that very early on, because you left the UK back in 2012 to come to Ghana. So tell us your story. Tell us why you left the UK. I mean, that was also my year of return, quote unquote, right? Why did you leave the UK in 2012? What did you see about this new Africa that was already existing from afar that made you move over?
2012, okay, that's going back like 13 or plus years. Don't want to show my age. But I was a property finance broker in the UK, and I started quite early in 2003. Don't want to tell you my age.
Yeah. And
we were doing fantastic. We were buying houses, renovating houses, helping people on the mortgage ladder. Then in 2008,
what happens?
The credit crunch, and it affected the whole world, especially in the UK. House prices were just falling, mortgage products were not available, and we really suffered. And it was like, do we start again in the UK? Should we do this all over again, or should we try somewhere new? Not so new being Ghana, because this is where we're from, but taking ourselves back home and trying what we had achieved in the UK was something that was very close to us at the time. When I say us, it was my brother and myself.
Right, okay. So when you say back home, so were you born in Ghana? You're born in the UK? Your parents are both Ghanaian? So when you even say back home, people say back home, what's your connection to Ghana?
That's a good question, because I always refer to Ghana as being back home. But I was born in the UK.
Okay.
I was born, bred in the UK, went to school, primary school, secondary school, university, all in the UK. I never lived here.
Okay.
So you could probably see that my parents, especially my mother, the way she raised us was very much Ghanaian.
Right, okay.
In a UK home.
Give an example. What's something that she did that was very Ghanaian?
Well, as soon as you step out of the house, you hear John, Terry, Margaret, and when you come into the house, it's Kweku.
Your home name, your house
You know?
name, yeah.
And in fact, I was born with a Ghanaian name,
Okay.
not a British name.
Oh, really?
I gave myself a British name.
Oh.
Yes.
But on your passport, is it?
It is now.
Okay, fine.
But at the time, it was just Kweku.
Really? I see.
And, you know, to get into Catholic school at the time, you needed a Christian name.
Okay.
So I gave myself Michael Jackson.
I see. Okay. Name yourself.
So that's where it came from. So, I mean, being brought up in a Ghanaian home, what did that look like? It was every single year, an uncle and auntie from Kumasi, not from Ghana. Kumasi is another world. Arriving, my mum had, you know, 20 odd siblings. She's the eldest. She moved to the UK when she was in her teens, late teens. So she's very British in her ways, but she's Ghanaian, obviously. So, you know, you could imagine over my age again, in the 80s, people coming in from Ghana, uncles, aunties, they would live with us. My grandma would be there every summer. So the whole experience and the ideology of being Ghanaian was within.
Right.
The food, the music, you know, the cultural way of living.
Yeah.
It was very internal in our house.
Right.
But yet we were very British when we got to school. So it was a blend.
But around then, especially early 90s, etc., I think because the Windrush generation had already occurred. And then that meant that I think the British were accustomed to Caribbeans more than they were to Africans.
Yeah.
So when it comes to you growing up in a very Ghanaian home and going into school and, you know, having to code switch, what was that like? Was there any also resistance in terms of, you know, being somebody who was proudly at home African? Did that have to kind of wear off when you got into school, or were you always, you know, I'm Ghanaian?
It wasn't cool to be African.
No, exactly.
It was definitely not cool to be African, Ghanaian, non-existent. I remember when I was probably about 7 years old, I thought I was from the Caribbean.
Right. I told people I was from the Caribbean.
And I remember being in school and there was a line that people used to use, ABC. I won't say what it means, but it was a way of teasing Africans. And I remember there was a group of boys teasing this particular African boy. And I was like, hey, this is fun. And I went home that day and I said, Mum, are we from the Caribbean? And she said, no. Are you crazy? You are African. You are Ghanaian.
Okay.
I mean, I knew it.
Yeah.
But it's just a strange thing.
Right. Okay.
But like I said, it was not cool.
Yeah.
Being Ghanaian in the 80s.
So how did you keep that in? Because you've now built a very successful company, and we're gonna speak about that, right? But that kind of childhood upbringing where you're, you know, brought up in this environment where you've got this juxtaposition between outsiders who, you know, say it's not cool being African, but in home your mum saying you are African, right? Where did the desire to move to Ghana and establish something in Ghana come from?
I think you might attest to this. Living in the UK, although we're British born, raised, we didn't quite totally feel that we were British or English. There was always that stumbling block somewhere, whether it was driving at night and the police are parked up in the corner and we're like, hey, nervous. I haven't done anything wrong, but I'm nervous. Yeah. You know, like I said, I was born with my Ghanaian name. My family members don't call me Michael. Right. The food wasn't fish and chips every day.
Smelling friendly.
Yeah.
You know?
The kobe. The kobe and the goat meats. Sometimes the neighbors will complain.
Yep.
But all of these things kind of gave you an idea of where you're really from.
Right.
And it kind of reinforces the reason why you needed to visit that place or be in that place.
So were you visiting often?
I think I really started coming here strongly when I was 19, 20 years old. Prior to that, it was probably when I was a child.
Okay. So
I couldn't remember that.
Was that your family, like summer holidays, like, and you're going with your family, but then 19 you go by yourself?
No, I think when I turned 19, I was working in Selfridges. Okay. I was doing part-time in Selfridges.
Discount?
I did, yeah. I
would have tried to find you back
I was spending all my discount in Selfridges. So I was working in Selfridges. I was in college. And I was also cutting hair.
Okay.
So I was, I was doing all these things. So I had a bit of money. I bought a car, and I was always trying to look at ways to making money at an early age.
Okay.
And my brother, when he started university at the time, he by default clicked with a group of Ghanaians that had come over to the UK.
Oh, okay.
And it became everything Ghana. Ghanaian restaurants, Ghanaian clubs, what we had at the time. And it was very much speak the native language now. Like all these guys speak either Ga or Tree. Why you guys can't speak the language? So, it brought out something in us. We tried, we forced ourselves. So I do remember in 2019, my brother decided to come to Ghana for Easter. And I didn't have the idea of coming. I wanted to go, but I just didn't think I was ready. So he left, and as soon as he got to Ghana, I felt I'm missing something.
Yeah.
So literally within a week, I was in Ghana.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ghana in 2019.
Yep.
Sorry.
2009. I was calculating. I was with you.
Sorry. I was 19. 2009.
Okay.
Oh no, was it 2009?
Let's talk. Is it before?
Sorry. 99.
99.
1999.
So he was coming then.
1999 was my first individual trip to Ghana as an adult. 1999, yes.
Wow. Okay.
So 1999 in Ghana.
Yeah.
The airport wasn't the airport today.
Yeah.
The roads were definitely not the roads that we have today. The opportunities the opportunities, obviously.
Different. You really.
It's been a complete change.
Right.
And I was cultural shocked at the time. I landed, there was a small ribbon around the outer bit of the airport with a lot of guys, hawkers. And I felt this wave of a group of guys trying to assist us with our bags into my aunt's car. And my aunt was shooing them away like they were bats. Shoo. And I was like, hey, what's this?
Welcome to Ghana.
And got to the house, and it was no water's running today. And I was like, what do you mean? So it was like, fetch a bucket. But we kind of got into it.
Right.
We got into it. We were jumping in chochos.
Yeah.
We were jumping in chochos, taxis, going to bars, eating, drinking. There was one funny thing that happened, and I'll tell you. There was this spot on the La Paz Road,
Okay.
and it was opposite a Brantier spot. Now, if you know a Brantier spot, then you know Ghana very well. And we had a meal, or I think it was some kebabs and some drink. And I think I had a Sprite or a Coke.
Okay. The glass bottle.
The glass bottle. So I'd finished my Coke, and I was standing there talking to
Mineral.
one of the guys that was living in Ghana, and he was trying to find out about where I am from and stuff.
Okay.
And as I was talking, I took the bottle and I went, phew! And he said, hey, Ghana, we don't do that. You're supposed to return the bottle.
Yes, exactly.
But, it was one of those moments of,
These are things that we're not used
yeah.
Okay.
And that was funny for me. I always remember that. So 99.
Wow, okay. So fast forward to today, right? So that is a period of time where you've built a company called Jacob West. When did the whole Jacob West come about, right? So you've had your first trip to Ghana as an adult. Like, what did you see in Ghana that you said, look, I need to do something like Jacob West? Or I mean, I'm sure it's evolved, but what made you realize that I need to build something in Ghana?
So I started really thinking about Ghana in the mid-2000s.
Okay.
From that point in 99, it was absolutely every year I was here. Summer, Christmas. And over the period of being here, we met people, we made friends, we accustomed ourselves to the environment, to locations, etc. And I think early 2000s, I purchased some land in an area called West Legon. And I had no idea why I was buying land. In fact, my aunt called me during lunchtime and she said, Kweku, do you have money? I said, oh yeah, auntie, I have money. She said, then meet me in Achimota Forest at lunch. So my brother and I went there. We followed her to this Westland area, and the man opened up the gate and said, buy this land, she said. She's passed away now. She said, buy this land, and if you don't buy this land, I will never speak to you again.
Wow, okay.
So we purchased the land.
Okay.
So that's more of a reason to come home and come back to Ghana and think about what we're doing in Ghana, whether we're gonna build houses or do. But prior to building houses, I did a lot of business.
What did you do? Tell us.
Well, I sold car tires.
Okay.
Refrigerated trucks, motorbikes. The list goes on. The phones.
I think when you get to Ghana, there's just so many different opportunities that you. I mean, I've done Uber cars, done there's so many different things that you can do.
I think the opportunities are unlimited. We complain that there are not certain things here in Ghana, but if you look at it a different way, that's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So I'd always say, come with a different hat when you come to Ghana.
Yeah.
Don't look at what the negative is. Turn it around and make it positive for yourself.
So what did you see that was negative in the property space that led you to turn that around and make that an opportunity?
I think growing up in my environment in the UK, when I'm saying my environment, my mum's siblings, of cousins, of family members, there was one common thing, complaining about the houses in the UK, Ghana.
Yeah.
Complaining about the types of builds where their money had been sent to.
Sending their money back home and who's built.
And bear in mind, there was no YouTube at that time.
Exactly.
And it was just pictures that had been sent in someone's luggage to have a look at what the project is. Now, how do you identify that to be in your land? Yeah. So I think the major problem is that the transparency between the two was lost.
Right.
And I felt that we could solve that.
Right.
I think we could solve that. And I still think we are solving that problem.
I like that you've taken it from that position of transparency, right? And I think a lot of people that are looking to, our parents all did, they either built their houses or send money.
Badly.
Exactly, right. And how many times they had to renovate their places, and they'll have their family members stay there for free. They're basically paying their family members to live in their
liability, not an asset.
Exactly. So tell me about why. So you've gone from dealing with car tires. Your auntie kind of encouraged you to buy land, which I think we have to thank our parents and our elders for that.
Yeah, for sure.
They're the ones that encouraged us.
It's an opening.
Land. Yeah, it was. Otherwise, we wouldn't have even thought about it.
Yeah.
Right. So what is it that led you to say, okay, look, because Jacob West is not how Jacob West is today. You've done construction materials. You've built for other people. I think we had a conversation before and you said about that point about transparency. You had people that trusted you as a person and they wanted you to build or go and check on their property and things like that.
Yeah.
So tell us how you actually got started in property in Ghana.
It's strange. It was by default. I knew I wanted to get into development. But like I said, the year that I came here in 2012, it was the back of the credit crunch in the UK. So, assets were lost, savings were gone because of the result of what happened in the world. So I knew I needed to be a developer, but the direction and the route to get there was challenging.
Okay.
So actually I came into Ghana with the idea of being a developer.
Okay.
But how I was gonna get there, it was not laid out on the carpet.
Right.
So I started by just being an agent. Getting to know people, finding out what people wanted.
Explain to people, because not many people would know and understand what an agent is or does. So explain that just to the audience. What is an agent?
Okay, so in terms of in Ghana's respect of it being an agent, it's sourcing properties or sourcing land for people that they may live here or they may not live here, but they don't have an idea of what's available on the ground.
Yeah.
So if you're on the ground and you know the terrain and you know how to take the right steps and registering and owning and procuring and transferring funds, then you kind of take that stress away from the person that's not here.
Absolutely.
And I felt that would be an opportunity for me to enter the market that way. And it kind of took off itself.
Right.
First client or first few clients, it was, I bought some land, can you get me the documentation and just keep it because we trust you? That happened, and then it became, could you get us an architect? And I was like, okay, let me source an architect. Then it was like, Mike, can you build for us? And okay, I'm building now. But my first project was in an area called Oyarifa.
Okay.
And if you remember your Oyarifa in 2016, 2017, thereabouts, vast land, probably no structure in terms of documentation, different landowners.
Pass through. You're just passing to go to a breed.
Yeah, and it's a lovely place to be, and it's quite easy to get access to the main city. But this particular land, the client lived in Saudi Arabia. She was Ghanaian, and I took on the whole project, but I took on all the headache with it.
Okay.
And the headache being dealing with registration of the land documentation, dealing with the land itself, dealing with land guards, dealing with the police, dealing with your staff that hear this London accent and think, if it's 10, it's 20.
Right.
So I learned a lot in a short space of time. At the same time, I recently got married. My first child was born. So I remember I'll be on site in the morning, 12 o'clock, pick up the child, drop him home, back to site. I was driving myself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a blessing because right now, no one can fool me.
Okay. You weathered the storm so that
it's a blessing. It's the best. Yeah. And actually, I actually advise people, you know, we have friends that come over. Mike, what do we do? How do we navigate this system? I said, the first thing you do is come to Ghana with no money.
Yeah. I try and make money.
If you come to Ghana with money, you lose your money.
Right.
If you come without money, you learn the system and how you can make money from the system. So that's my advice. That's my free advice.
Free advice from the boss here, you know. So at the beginning, I did get straight to it because I wanted people to understand your story before this beast that you have, which is Jacob West. So tell us in a nutshell what Jacob West does.
Jacob West builds for not just people, for classrooms, for organizations, and for memories. And I think that if you look at real estate as a whole, it's not just bricks and mortar. It's more than that.
Right.
It's people's livelihoods, it's people's investments, it's people's dreams. And we're just that link between those people's dreams and livelihoods and investments.
Right.
So what we do is really try and take away the difficulties of achieving your dreams, your visions, your, you know, what people dream of and aspire to do in Africa, in Ghana, where they're from or where they would love to be.
Yeah.
And I think Jacob West, our main mission here is to promote the positivity of Africa to the rest of the world. And I think the positivity is there. And bear in mind, we're not here to change Ghana. My being here isn't to make Ghana better. I'm here to contribute.
Right.
I'm here to also gain.
Right.
I'm here to put what's already there in line to what people need to see.
I see.
So, you know, I'm not here to save Ghana. I think Ghana's doing well without me. And I think Ghana will do well if I wasn't here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you said you want to contribute. A lot of people come to Ghana, they're like, I need to give back. I need to, where did that desire to contribute come from?
I think one of the reasons I felt we need to contribute is that when I eventually moved to Ghana, it was a different perspective as to when I used to come on holiday.
Okay.
When I used to come on holiday, I felt that I was coming with something from the UK.
Okay.
I was bringing something better.
That's the mentality that a lot of you.
Yeah, and that's completely wrong.
Okay.
It's completely wrong. We get it wrong, and you need to humble yourself.
Right.
All right. Contributing is we are benefiting from what's already here. We didn't create the land that was here. The opportunity is there. Yes, we have some ideas of what's being used in the rest of the world, whether it's Europe or the US or wherever you're coming from, but it doesn't mean that it always works here.
Right, okay.
So contributing, it could be an idea that works. Contributing, it could be an idea that doesn't work.
Right.
So we can't say that everything that we bring here as an idea is what the country needs.
Okay.
So we're contributing to what's already established. And fine tuning some things and maybe adapting ourselves.
Adapting ourselves is a big one.
Yeah, I think.
What have you done to adapt yourself? What kind of things have you had to?
I think the most important thing that I've done is learn the culture, not the business.
Oh, learn the culture, not the business. Okay, so define that for me, because there's so many cultural nuances that unless you've actually been here on the ground, that you can actually try and understand. You can't. What are some of those nuances? And why do you say that, culture over business?
Well, I think that I like to tell stories, and I'll give you a short story. A few years back, well, when I first got here, and I had to deal with one of the banks, I won't name the bank, it was very frustrating for me. I'll go into the bank and I'll spend close to an hour to withdraw money, and I'll be effing and blinding, as we say in the UK. You know, why are they taking so long? Why do I need to sign a check? Why, you know, and that was my attitude.
Date it on the back, sign.
Yeah, and that was my attitude, that this is wrong. This is not what we should be doing here. And years later, I went to another bank and I bumped into one of my uncles who's a businessman. And he said, hey, Koku, come. And within a short space of time, he had introduced me to members of the staff, and they loved him. So I realized that the service he was getting was more accommodating to what I wanted. And that's because of his attitude and his understanding of the culture. My understanding was not so much of the culture, it was the service and the business. And I think if you put the business aside, I go into the bank and say, hey, throw 100 cedis here and 50 cedis there, and say, hey, how's your daughter? How's your wife? How's your husband? I'm sure that your service becomes
a lot more efficient.
So learn the culture, not the business. And if you learn the culture with my work, for example, at the earlier days, and some of my boys can attest to it, I was on site. I'm working with them. I'm talking about the cement and the mix and the form work and the tiles, and we sit and we group, and they appreciated that. So the culture of me being with them took me a lot further than me saying the calculations of the business is what I'm working on. So I just believe if we learn the culture.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, is there any of the cultural elements that challenges you, like any? Like, for example, let me tell you my pet peeve. Rain. Rain should not impact somebody to be able to get somewhere. You know, that's my pet peeve.
Okay, so can I come in with that?
Unless it's a construction site, which I understand.
Not even if it's not a construction site. Let's be realistic. If we lived or live where some of these people live, we'll have a better understanding of the challenges to even get to work.
Sure.
And I think that, you know, sometimes we need to reflect and understand that where is this person coming from to get where they are? Not in terms of the transportation, in terms of their mindset, in terms of, you know, I remember one of our nannies talking about one of her stories, and she said how when they were doing the road in Sawam, something happened and she had to jump because there was a goat running in the street, and she was carrying stuff that she was selling. And I thought to myself, you used to carry stuff from the morning to the evening to earn a living. How on earth are you going to work a DSTV out? Right? It's a challenge. So some of the places in Accra do get flooding.
That one I understand. That one I get.
It bugs us that in the UK, when it rains or it snows,
they expect us on time.
You see people at the bus stop. But then again, let's learn the culture.
Let's learn the culture.
And let's understand that the people that work for you or with you, if they're considered as family, they'll work a lot harder for you.
That's true.
And I think in the UK, we're very cold when it comes to building organizations. It's all about the numbers, So I think
you're right.
That's something. I mean, there are a number of things that you can maybe not accept, and it's still a challenge today. You know, thinking outside the box and taking responsibility and communication and you know, there are things that we will always complain about, but ultimately we need to shift our mindset to be able to deal with some of the challenges.
Romans do, you know.
Not entirely.
I mean, you're right. I mean, in Ghana, it's less transactional, it's more relationships. Everything is relationship driven. And so you have to understand where that comes from. So you're absolutely right. So I agree with you. So just as we wrap up, and, you know, the story's been fantastic, just seeing how far you've come, you know, right from Kweku at home to, you know, being stopped by the police to what you've managed to build in Ghana is really impressive. And I take my wig off to you, you know, and everything that you've managed to achieve. But what does the future look like for Jacob West? And what are people, first and foremost, you shared that Jacob West builds, etc. What are people who are watching out there, what can they expect from Jacob West? And what does the future of Jacob West look like for you?
I think ultimately what we're trying to do with Jacob West, firstly, is put Africa on the map. But with Jacob West, we are trying to be that full supply chain from consultancy to supply to building.
Okay.
I think if we're able to achieve all those areas of the business or the sector, then we've achieved what we're here to do.
Okay.
Ghana is a small fish in a big pond of Africa. And I'll probably tell you a bit more later, but the name Jacob West, the West was actually the west of Africa. And I believe that if we can creep across West Africa to other parts of Africa, then Jacob West is doing what? We outlive the CEO in that respect. So I think we've got a long journey, but I think it's an exciting journey.
We have an exciting journey indeed. And there was so much that we couldn't speak about, but I think we need a part 2 to this. I think we're going to come back, we're going to do a part 2 because there is a long journey, right? And I think it'll be really great to understand some of the building projects you have. It'll be great to understand more about who could potentially buy from you. You know, somebody could be watching and be like, I want to build a house. So what do they do? What's the process? What are some of the mistakes that the diaspora make when it comes to buying property in Ghana? Building property in Ghana. What have you learned? There's so much that we need to talk about.
True.
So I think we're going to come back for part 2. So guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been an amazing conversation. I've learned so much about Mr. Jacob West's background and, you know, the fact that he's building this company that he wants to outlive him and really penetrate the west of Africa and hopefully beyond as well. And just basically how he's managed to do something and build something to contribute to Ghana and the wider ecosystem and building this supply chain. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found it interesting and you want part 2, make sure you comment below part 2. And we will make sure we send you the link to that part 2 when it's ready and when it's out. So guys, thank you so much for standing by and watching. I've been Lorraine and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.